I feel like I need to give you a little background that I was not raised in a house with guns. I'm not a hunter, but I had been given a gun by a friend of mine and taught how to use it properly, simply because this particular person was an assistant DA in the Houston area and knew that there was a lot of violence around. So he convinced me to carry the gun, at that time illegally.
911 emergency. There's a guy down here with a gun and it looks like he's just shooting people. You need to send somebody.
When all of a sudden this truck came crashing through the window. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, it was an accident. He had knocked over a number of tables on the way in, and I stood up to go help the people that he had knocked over. And all of a sudden we heard gunshots. My father and I immediately got down on the floor and put the table up in front of us. My mother got down behind us, and he was simply walking around, taking his time, taking aim at people, and pulling the trigger. Just going from one person to the next, taking aim, and pulling the trigger. I remember thinking to myself, I've got him. I've got the guy. Realized that at that point he was maybe 15 feet from me. The table was up in front of me. I had a perfect place to prop my arm. I had a clear shot. Everybody else in the restaurant was down. But then as I reached for my purse on the floor next to me, I realized that I had made one of the stupidest mistakes of my life. A few months earlier, I had begun to leave my gun in my car, which was 100 yards away, completely useless to me at that point, because I did what most normal people do. You think, what are the odds? What are the odds? If I need a gun, it's going to be when I'm on some back Texas road somewhere and my car breaks down. It's not going to be in a crowded restaurant on a bright, sunny day. I learned differently that day. When I realized I didn't have the gun with me, I can remember vividly thinking all the things running through my mind. Great, what do I do now? Throw my purse at him? I can remember thinking that and how absurd that was. At that point, my father, my attention turned to my father. He began to raise up, and he kept saying, I've got to do something, I've got to do something. He's going to kill everybody in here. So I was trying to hold him down, had him by the shirt collar, holding him down. But when he saw what he thought was an opportunity, he got up and ran at the man. But as I mentioned, he had total control over the situation, and he just simply turned and shot my father in the chest. My father went down in the aisle midway between us, and he was alive and conscious, but quite frankly, I saw the wound, and I effectively wrote him off at that point. The good news was that it made the bad guy change directions. Instead of continuing on his track directly toward my mother and I, it made him shift off to our left slightly. Shortly after that, someone way at the back of the cafeteria broke out a window. And I remember hearing that window break, just as the window broke when he drove the truck through it. And I can remember thinking, oh my God, here comes another one. What is going on? You're thinking in terms of terrorists. You're thinking of all these different things that it could be. But then I actually saw people getting out that back way. Somebody had actually thrown himself through a window, and people were getting out. It didn't pay to be a non-smoker that day. We were up in a section where we were effectively trapped. After several seconds, when I saw what I thought was an opportunity, I stood up, I grabbed my mother by the shirt collar, she was behind me, and I said, come on, we got to run, we got to get out of here. And my feet grew wings. And I was one of the only people from that front section to make it out the back window. When I got out there, I ran into my manager friend who had come out a side door. And he said, oh, thank God you're okay. I said, yeah, but Dad's been hit and it's bad. And I turned around to say something to my mother and realized she had not followed me out. My mother had apparently crawled out into the open where my father was and was cradling him. And they said who turned out to be the gunman walked around to her. They said they saw him put a gun to her head. She looked up at him, put her head down, and he pulled the trigger. It was at that point they knew who the bad guy was. They exchanged some gunfire with him, and he eventually put a bullet in his own brain. 23 people were killed. I can tell you that this may sound odd to you, but I'm not angry at the guy that did it, because this is not a career criminal. In this case, it was somebody who went insane. I mean, literally somebody who had worms for brains. You can't, how do you be mad at that? That's like being mad at a rabid dog. You don't be mad at a rabid dog. You kill it, but you don't be mad at it. But I will tell you that I was mad as hell at my legislators because I felt they had legislated me out of the right to protect myself and my family.
When